Hey Deb,
Hey, Wen, how are you?
good honey. What's in our glass today?
Well, we have some Chardonnay, of course.
Welcome to the podcast Wine Matters. I'm your host, Wendy Loretti, the accidental winery owner of Saddlers Creek Wines. In this podcast, I invite you to join me as I share with you what I believe is the true meaning of loving wine, and that is to bring people together. I'm absolutely no wine expert, though I am a wine lover. I love to learn and explore all things wine, how it's made and how it is best enjoyed. What I've discovered along the way is the more I learn, is the more I enjoy and appreciate it. So I'd like to share with you what I've learned along the way, debuff some of the myths, but most importantly, I invite you along to learn with me. To support our learning, I'll be inviting way more knowledgeable people than myself to share their expertise, their love of wine, and why wine matters to them. I hope to introduce you to all the reasons to love wine and all the interesting and great people of the Hunter Valley and the greater wine community. So on that note, let's pour a glass of wine and talk wine matters. Cheers.
But for Hunter Valley Heroes, we've got on the table, we've got Semillon, Chardonnay, and Shiraz.
And Shiraz. So two
they're-
white varietals, one red varietal.
So this is the Marrowbone Chardonnay, the Hunter Valley Winemaker's Craft.
Saddlers Winemaker's Craft, number one Chardonnay for the last couple of
I
years.
love this wine.
Originally made as a throwback, as a explore it, hence why it's under the Winemaker's Craft, and it's just took off 100 miles an hour.
So the interesting thing about the Marrowbone, if anyone is a long time Club Equus member, they knew Marrowbone because it was a style that they used to make at Saddlers many years ago, and it was that big buttery style. So it was probably about 3 years ago we decided to reintroduce that style of Chardonnay back into the cellar door, and like you said, it's been the number one selling Chardonnay.
Well, it's just come back with Chardonnay in general, hasn't it? And it's just really enjoyable. So interesting fact, these three heroes, about 85% of vineyards grow Chardonnay, Semillon and Shiraz. So clearly the top three Hunter Valley heroes.
There is another one that is growing really well, and that's Verdelho. In the Hunter Valley, which is another white wine.
Our trophy winner as well at Saddlers Creek Wines. So very proud of our Verdelho. It's such a popular wine as well. So Deb, tell us, why do you think is it important for people, or how does it add value for people to know what each region's signature wines are?
It comes down to each region around the world. It doesn't matter if you're talking about France, Australia, Italy. Each region, because of the terroir, and the terroir is not just about the soil, it's about the climate. It has all the influence of what makes that grape grow well or not grow well in those regions. When you know what regions grow those grapes really well, then you have an understanding of what to look for.
What to ask for when you go to a tasting, what do you want to explore. You're going to ask, well, I really want to try your Semillon.
What do you make the best here? We know we've got 4 grape varieties that do really, really well in the Hunter Valley, and it's, the oldest wine region
in Australia.
So if you're going to, and why it's important is because if I'm going to, say, Tasmania, I'm not going to Tasmania for Semillon.
You'd be surprised to see a Semillon down there. You'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah, and it wouldn't be made in the style that you probably be looking for as well. The same with if you're coming to the Hunter Valley because you're a Pinot drinker, you might see 1 or 2 that we grow here, but it's not what we're known here for.
It's too warm a climate up here for a Pinot Noir.
Yeah, because back in, the early winemaking days here in the Hunter Valley, there was a lot of grape varieties that were bought here. Over the years, there were a lot that were experimented with. So, for example, you can still get Cabernet Sauvignon and Pinot Noir for it growing here in the Hunter Valley.
We grow it at Saddlers Creek Wines.
We grow
have Cabernet.
However, it's not the region where it excels in. So even though, like, we just released a Cabernet in the Winemaker's Craft this year, I actually really like it.
It's very delicious. It's for me, I think it's a delicious summer wine because it is a far more medium-bodied. I chill it down a little bit, not cold, but keep it around that 16 degrees. And it is just so easy.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is that Cabernet doesn't grow well consistently here in the Hunter Valley. So when you do see a Cabernet, expect it to be a different style to, say, your South Australian.
Completely different style.
So let's talk about these 3 grape varieties.
Let's talk, Deb. So Semillon, such an underrated, I don't know why it doesn't sell 10 times more than what it does, because I love it. I love the I just find it such a unique wine because it's the one wine that ages so beautifully in a bottle.
Hunter Valley Semillon is a white variety. Traditionally, it come from France. They use it in a dessert wine
Mm-hmm.
because it's got a thin skin, so it makes wonderful botrytis Semillon,
Yes.
which is why you'll see it as our dessert wine.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's typically, if you think about the Bordeaux region, they use it to blend with Sauvignon Blanc, so that as a white table wine. But here in the Hunter Valley, it just does exceptionally well. So the wonderful thing about Semillon, as you just mentioned, is that it ages. Out of any of the white wines, this has the greatest potential to age for many, many years. And I've had 30-year-old Semillons.
Yes, yep. That was one of my greatest experiences when we first took over the winery. It was when Scotty lined up a side-by-side Semillon tasting, and I probably went across 20 years. So it was like, I think he gave me, there was like 8 or 10 wines in front of me, and that was a journey. That was really, I feel, my very first fantastic, memorable wine tasting experiences where I just learnt so much from that young, crisp, citrusy flavors right through to, I don't know, you're going to tell me that honey, like it's just toasty. It's so,
it's almost Chardonnay.
yes,
Yeah.
it's just deliciousness.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised. I love both. I mean, I think they both are beautiful young. I love them old. And it's just about the pairing it with the right food,
Pairing it with
isn't
the right foods again.
and the right
or
experience.
Right, occasion. So for me, Semillon, when I first started working in the Hunter Valley, again, being a Chardonnay drinker, I was given the Semillon and I tasted it and I was like, oh, this is like sucking a lemon. And the winemaker that I was working with at the time, he's like, go home, have it with some seafood and
come back and tell me.
And I was living down at Terrigal at the time. So I'm sitting there having some beautiful seafood on the beach, and I'm sipping this wine. I'm like, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it now. So for me, Semillon is such a great food wine when you're talking about seafood. And anyone will say, if you go to any cellar door, will always say, pair it with seafood. And what does Semillon taste like? It's all about those citrus characters. So typically Semillon in the Hunter Valley, it's all about citrus. So it's kind of like if you imagine your seafood, squeezing fresh lemon on your seafood, it has that same effect. It's that balance of cleaning the palate after some beautiful, mussels or prawns and things like that.
I love it. And really it's I think sometimes it's, if you haven't got a champagne on hand, it is the go-to. Like I love that. I love this Semillon with fresh seafood. So it's delicious.
The other thing about Semillon, it's got generally about 3 windows of drinking as well. So you'll find that when they're that 1 to 2 year old, they're almost like a big fruit tingle in your mouth, right? They're all that zesty lime, lemon. And then the next window of optimum drinking is that 4 to 6 year age. So they kind of go through that little bit of a dip around that 3-year age. They have like a little bit of a sleep and then they wake back up again. Personally, again, I like my Semillons that 4 to 6 year window. The acids soften in it. It gets a little bit more complex. And then, of course, you come back out about that 8 to 10 year, which is what you were talking about, is that lovely, toasty, honeyed character that aged Semillons get. This is the wonderful journey that if you do have that opportunity to try them as they age, I think that's really, really special.
It is. And I think if you come to the Hunter Valley and you have an opportunity to do a side-by-side Semillon tasting, grab it. Because it is really a fantastic experience. We haven't talked Shiraz yet. Beautiful red varietal.
Yes.
I think Hunter Valley Shiraz, that medium bodied, is absolutely,
I love Hunter
hands
Shiraz.
down, my favourite. I love our bluegrass as well, but we're talking Hunter Valley at the moment, but it's just special. Isn't it? Like you can enjoy it any time.
And these age beautifully as well.
They do.
You can pop that down for 10 years, no problem. What I love about Hunter Valley Shiraz is that what you can expect in the bottle, it's going to be more medium bodied. They're really great food wines. They won't overpower the flavors of the food. They're not as high as alcohol as some of the other regions that, can produce much bigger bodied wines. Because I lean more on the medium bodied reds, I love Hunter Shiraz for that.
What are we going to eat with this?
I actually went and bought some duck today. So a nice duck breast salad is perfect.
Beautiful.
If you're talking, say, lamb, instead of a lamb shoulder, I would do more lamb cutlets or a lamb rump, so a leaner meat. You can do a nice fillet steak with it. If we're talking vegetarian, it's in
Mushroom risotto.
Mushroom, absolutely. So the versatility of a Hunter Shiraz will go a lot further. If you're a vegetarian, for example, Hunter Valley Shiraz is such a perfect pairing to a lot of roast vegetable dishes, tomato dishes, pasta dishes. Again, it's such a good all-rounder. If you're talking about, summertime, you can still pop that in the fridge a little bit, not too much, but, just
I was about to say ideal temperature, still around that 16, 18.
16 degrees for these.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So the little key there is if it's in your shelf, just pop it in the fridge for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
If it's been on a hot, if it's
Well,
a
it
hot
depends on
day, 40
it depends on where you
degrees.
store your wine too, Wendy, because if you're storing your wine in a house that's on the shelf with no air conditioning during the day,
Pop it in the fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't leave them in a house at 30 degrees.
That's the best hack I've ever been introduced to.
Yeah.
Really, I didn't have that understanding, so that's a great hack.
And a lot of people, we don't have cellars at home these days. So the best thing you can do is put it into a dark, cool room. Like that end of my house is cooler than that end of my house. So put it in the cool end of the house. Get those foam eskies, those foamy boxes. Pack your wine into those because it helps to insulate them, and then stick them in a dark corner in the cupboard to store them.
And away
if
we
you don't have
go.
a wine fridge. I guess what it comes down to, when you go in, when you see the region on the bottle, what can you expect out of the wine? If you go back to reading the region on the label, then you can have a better idea of what you can expect in the bottle.
That's right. So if you're going to the bottle shop, buying a Semillon, you're having seafood, you want to go Hunter Valley.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a perfect pairing.
If I saw a Semillon that came from, say, I don't know, Queensland or, Tasmania, it wouldn't be the first Semillon that I would choose. I'm going to go for, and that comes back to Hunter Heroes, what you're talking about, of each region has a distinct grape variety that grows well there. So if I see on the bottle a Hunter Valley Shiraz, I can expect it to be a medium-bodied Shiraz generally.
Yeah.
If I wanted a full-bodied, I go for a South Australian.
Yeah.
So it just gives you
a little bit more expertise and confidence in making the selection. And making it a confident selection.
So if, for example, you were visiting a cellar door and you were coming to the Hunter Valley, expect to see Semillon, Chardonnay, Shiraz, Verdelho that we grow here. If you were going to Tasmania, then you could expect to see Chardonnay, Riesling, Pinot Gris. Don't go to a region if you're not wanting to try those wines.
Yeah, so do a little bit of research before going.
Yeah.
It's worthwhile. Yeah. So, Deb, we have at Saddlers at the moment a special tasting called the Hunter Heroes.
Love it.
So if you're up in the Hunter, it's a perfect time. Come in because these wines are beautiful. They're tasting fantastic right now. So you can book that online. It's called the Hunter Heroes. One other thing we've got, our Rhines Reserve. We have a winemaker's table luncheon coming up, an annual luncheon that we have in our barrel room. So big long tables. It's a beautiful event. This is, I think, about our 5th year or 6th year that we've been running it. Yeah. Our special guest this year will be Phil Ryan. So Phil Ryan's a Hunter Valley legend. He's been winemaking well over 60 years now. So we've had a beautiful 10-year relationship, the Rhines Reserve label, but it's come to an end. Phil's retired. Yeah. He sold his vineyard. So we will be celebrating.
It's the end of an era.
It's an end of an era.
Okay.
So this 2022 Semillon, Sylvia Semillon, named after his beautiful wife, it will be just a focus luncheon on Rhines Reserve wines. Phil will be there talking. He's just a encyclopedia of knowledge. You ask him about any vintage and he remembers it like the weather, what happened, how it tastes. Yeah. Incredible. So yeah, 2 exciting bookable experiences that we have. Hunter Heroes tasting or book in for the winemaker's table lunch. So Brett will be there. Phil Ryan is our special guest.
And Brett is our head winemaker, if anyone doesn't know.
Yes, sorry. So yeah, hope to see you then. And come in, connect, enjoy, and remember, wine matters.
Okay. Cheers, Wendy.
Cheers, Deb.